Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel, The Grim Reader. I'm Kathy Grimm, The Grim Reader, and I'm going to talk to you or present to you my book haul from the recent library sale at my local library that some of you saw in the vlog. And I actually am refilming this because I deleted the previous haul, and it's very uncategorized. I'm just going to show you the books I bought, and there's quite a few. And so the reason why I was went a little crazy here, or allowed myself to go crazy, is first of all, I had cash in the wallet, so I wasn't really using my credit card. And also, it's a sort of retail therapy. I'm very busy. Even now, I'm kind of stealing time from work to make this video because I want to, because it's fun, because it's work-life balance. And same with things with the books. I kind of allowed myself the joy of just buying what I wanted to buy and not holding back. So it's a very eclectic bunch of books that reflect my interests. You know, these are things I was interested in for whatever reasons, as you'll see. The first one that is just on the top of the pile is another novel by Hilary Mantel. Now, previously, I had kind of given up on Wolf Hall. I think I finished Wolf Hall, but I kind of want to revisit it and try again because I have a feeling I would really like it, and I just wasn't in the right mind space for it when I tried it last time. Anyway, I'm intrigued by another non-Thomas Cromwell book by her, and I think this is probably earlier than published before the Thomas Cromwell books, so I thought I would pick that up. Have any of you read An Experiment in Love, which is an interesting title? Next up is actually one that I had bought the hard copy of at a previous library sale, so now I have 2 copies of this, but I have a feeling this one might be the one I reach for because it's easier to hold and everything. So I have 2 nice copies of this book that I've only read one, Louise Erdrich, and I think it was the Roundhouse, and I liked it. I listened to it actually. And I know there's a lot of people who like Louise Erdrich on the channels that I am acquainted with. So let me know if you've read this one and what you thought of it. Next up is sort of a project. So I'm sort of developing slight collecting tendencies, even though, for example, my Oxfords are one of the editions that I like to collect. But I've sort of decided I really like these Virago Modern Classics with the green and then a nice picture. And so I'd already decided before this, I've started my collection. One day I'll show you, not that many, like 5 or something. But this is one that was there, and it's in fairly good condition. So even though I'm not familiar with the author at all, Emily Eden, but it looks great. I think I will like it. It says something about her being like a Jane Austen type writer. I don't know. And so I don't even know what year this is. Well, the 79, but I don't know if it's a reprint. Yeah, no, it's earlier. She was born in 1797, so she's a contemporary of Austen in a certain sense. That's really interesting. This was published in 1859, which is post-Austen. So it's a Victorian novel that I've never heard of. I've never heard of Emily Eden. Looks good. I'm excited. And it also was sort of one of the editions that I'm collecting. Next up is a famous Depression memoir that I'm sure some of you know of. This person who's read it has made notes, which is interesting. William Styron's Darkness Visible. It's a really short, slim nonfiction, memoir of his descent into depression, which I'm really interested in. I have to be careful though, because I'm not really depressed or anything, but I am sort of highly sensitive, and books kind of affect me. Like I get sort of sensory overload sometimes from books. It's sort of one reason why I draw back from people like Thomas Bernard. It's a reason why I stopped reading the Duck book. Duck Newburyport. The big long book was affecting me, making me edgy and anxious in a way that was not healthy. But I'm still interested in it, and I thought I would pick it up. It's a nice edition. Then we get into one of the sort of interests that I have. I am quite interested in history. I'm interested in it, but then I don't really read a lot of books about it, but I still kind of collect the books. And I'm particularly interested in the Stewards, even for genealogical reasons, because I have the fairly famous ancestor Jane Lane, who is famous for helping Charles II escape to France when he was being pursued, by the Cromwellians. And so the Stewards are, he was a Steward. I don't know that many, who exactly the Stewards were, but he was definitely a Steward, and has family trees, and it's just a book about them. So that's one of I'm interested in English history, just because I'm interested in, I'm an Anglophile anyway, and I have sort of family connections. I was so happy to get a copy. There were 2 nice copies of Chouette. Now, I found this, and I have it on Kindle, but I thought I would pick up, since it was there, and I started reading it, and it was sort of, sometimes I read things and see if I like them, the style. As you probably all know, I'm pretty picky about style, and if I don't connect, I will just put it down. But this one I liked, and it's a strange sort of metaphorical story of a woman giving birth to an owl, I guess, a chouette, which is a French word for owl, I think. And oh, okay, yeah, she's making tender love to an owl, and then she's gonna have an owl baby. So it's definitely sort of an exercise in surreal stuff, but I think it's going to be good. Plus, I love this cover. I love it. I love it. I love it. Next up, we have a person who I don't think I've read maybe stuff from her in the New Yorker. Francine Duplessis Gray, a regular contributor to the New Yorker and the author of numerous books, including a book on Simone Weil, who's a French philosopher who I'm really interested in, sort of religious person, kind of extreme. I don't know. I'm really interested in her. She was very much kind of gave away her money, or I don't really know that much about it. But anyway, I was excited that she had written a book about her. And this is a memoir of her parents called Them. So I thought, what the heck, I'm going to try this. My mother enjoyed claiming direct descent from Genghis Khan, that's Tatiana, and her father, or stepfather, is also part of the Them of the title. And there's pictures in here. Oh, there's a picture of Marlene Dietrich. I really don't know anything about them. There's notes from the person who, Mommy's something tree. Anyway, this is gonna be interesting, and I'll see if I get along with it. Alex and his women. Yeah. So I thought, what the heck? I just picked it up. So that's. Have you ever read anything by Francine Duplessis Gray? Very bougie, kind of, that world. But I'm sort of intrigued by that word a little bit. Next up, we have an illustrated edition of Dorothy Wordsworth's journal, the Grasmere Journal, with an introduction by someone who's a descendant, apparently, Jonathan Wordsworth. So it's actually a diary, which I love diaries because it means I could even dip in and see what it says about, I don't know if it's the whole year. It starts in May of 1800, so, you could read along the days. I like doing that. I did that with, the big long novel, Uwe Johnson. And some of the days entries, they're all fairly short. So this would actually be a fun exercise to do it day by day. And it has beautiful illustrations. I don't know who they're by, but, for whatever I paid for this, at the most $2, probably one, I don't recall, a nice book. That's the thing about library sales. You get these wonderful books that are in good condition for $1 or $2. The next one I felt compelled to buy, since I am a German professor, and it's called The German Genius by Peter Watson. Europe's Third Renaissance, the Second Scientific Revolution in the 20th Century. So it's all about, it has a funny cover. I'm not quite sure if this cover works, because it's like, well, the US and Britain may speak English, but they think German. Freud is better in German. That's so true, Frank Kermode. There is too much music in Germany. The Nazis are un-German. Victor Klemperer. Okay. So it's quotes from people. And then what does the little writing say? And the world may finally be healed by Germanism. So it's all these sort of pro-German sort of honing in on the ideas stuff of Germany. What are some of the chapter headings? Let me have a peek here for you guys. German is emerging Bildung, so this concept of character formation and education, sort of connected in the two. So sort of like a fun history of German things. So I thought I had to pick it up. This might be a dip-in book, to be honest. You know, see what's what. This one is the one I've kind of already started because I was just so enthralled by the beginning. I know it's a mystery, I guess. It's a series of mysteries. And the guy is, what is the guy's name? Brunetti. And it starts out with a sort of really kind of cozy depiction of their dinner. And it's called The Golden Egg. And I know really nothing about it. I don't know where this fits in, but I really liked how the writing starts out and they're describing the family and the parents are having a little chat about the children and what they want their children to study. So really kind of nice. And I think it's all going to be changing as it gets into whatever mystery there or murder or crime that Brunetti has to solve. But I'm in a kind of phase where I love all things Italian, partly because, strangely enough, perhaps, that I follow a nice lady on the TikTok, Elizabeth Mincelli. She's American, but she's been living in Rome for many years, and she takes us along with her for her meals and when she goes to her country house, which of course she has, and she has dinner, very nice, casual, beautifully, like really nice dinner parties that are sort of good food, pretty casual, you know, not too formal. She likes to drink a dry martini every day. Like her, it just leads a really wonderful, kind of quiet but delightful life in Italy. And I really like her style of filming TikToks mainly, and also a little bit on YouTube. Anyway, next up we have a book that I think I have a Penguin copy of, but I like the Dover edition of the autobiography of Benjamin Franklin, which is just kind of about him, of course, and it talks about virtues. And in my fairy tale class, I kind of use them as an example of the Weberian Protestant work ethic, someone who lives out his values in the real world, and that connects to fairy tales because of the Grimms. And anyway, there's a whole trajectory there of the famous timeline, his timetable of what he does. I've always had a penchant for Franklin's autobiography. He's kind of wanting to better himself. Anyway, that's that. Yeah, we're getting through the piles. 12 minutes. This is one that I've heard a lot about, and I'm sure some of you have read him. So A Year in the Provence, kind of like Mincelli, but in France. And this is a little bit older. They buy a house there. Him and his wife moved to France and work on this 200-year-old stone farmhouse. So it's a seasonal work too. So it goes through the chapter headings are the months of the year, from starting in January, and I guess it's called a year, so it goes to December. So this might be another thing to just start next January and just read along. That might be nice. I really have this thing where I like to read things with the seasons. Anyway, so and I've never read it. Have you read any Mail? I would pronounce it Mail or Mail, Peter Mail. I think he's British. Let me know. Next up, a book. Of course, I've read this before, Dorothy. I'll say Whose Body, but it's been a long time. I'm a little bit wondering if it's abridged because this is such a short little. But maybe it just isn't that long. I guess it's sort of a longer book than usual. But yeah, Dorothy Elsayer's Lord Peter Wimsey. I love Lord Peter Wimsey. I've read a lot of them a very long time ago. I had a mystery phase when I was a teenager in Germany, and I read them all. She's great. Next up, a sort of self-helpy, might dig into in the mornings. It's a Buddhist acts of compassion. So I guess it's sort of honing in on how to develop compassion, which I kind of want to do. I think it's important. And I notice how sometimes when I get to know the lives of other people, and it almost feels like you have to be compassionate, but you do have to you don't want to be a pushover or a doormat. You have to also be assertive. So there's sort of like this conflicting tugging you in one direction, tugging you in the other direction. But so you have to kind of decide where you fall on that, you know. So, but I don't know. But I still sort of, I liked it and I want to read it. And it's sort of short little chapters, so I think it might be interesting. At least something to think about. So this is something, so he's an author I used to read when I read the Vanity Fair. I would read his column about court cases. And he wrote really well in a way that made you want to keep reading. And so this is all about crimes, trials, and punishments. And I don't quite know what he's going to be. Yeah, I think it's just different things. It's OJ stuff. Is it all OJ? I'm not that interested in OJ. But he is a good writer. He's sort of like, he's compelling. He makes you want to read on. He has a way of, a father's account of the trial of his daughter's killer. Oh, that might be his own. Anyway, it's like a court crime, a court journalist or court stuff. And I thought, what the heck, I'll buy it. Next up, this is exciting because it's related to the trip that is actually happening. I'm going to be spending a week in London starting December 12th, you know, barring terrible events in the world. And then we'll be spending 2 weeks in Germany. But the first, well, actually I will be flying to Germany first and then flying with my sister and her friend to London together on the 12th, and we'll be there from the 14th through the 21st of December. And so I wanted to just, you know, I want to read about this beautiful city that I'm going to be visiting. And of course, to be honest, I'm not going to read the whole thing. I will dip into this and look around for chapters that are of interest to me. I know where we're staying, which is actually, we're staying in a sort of, supposedly used to be not a very nice area of London, but I have a feeling it's changed a lot. It's more like hipster or gentrified. It's the East End, or Spitalfield, I think it's called, in that area at least. Does it even, I'm seeing if if there's a entry for it. Spitalfields. Oh yeah, there's a lot. Yeah. I don't think it was I think it's like a low, you know, maybe even really low, like a slum. I don't know. London had a lot of bad things going on. I mean, it wasn't a very nice place for a long time. It's just London, you know. And I'm kind of coming out of reading things like Bleak House. So I have this and I would like to see the Dickens Museum, I think. Let me know if you have suggestions for London. We're only there for a week, and I will have to take it a little bit easy at the same time. So I'll have to sort of do one thing and then have a rest somewhere and have a coffee or something. But that's okay. I will just always, even if I'm not doing everything, I'll be like, I'm sitting here having a nice time in London. And yeah. This is a book that I remember a lot of people on YouTube talking about. And so since it was there and it has this very striking cover and it looked interesting, I decided, what the heck, I'll give it a go. You know, I will try it. And a beautifully layered portrait of motherhood, immigration, and the sacrifices we make in the name of love. And I think it has a Jamaican connection, right? She's from Jamaica, which I also have family connections with. Not very nice ones because the Mackenzies, so I have a lot of relatives that were Mackenzies, and the Mackenzies, so Scottish people, went to Jamaica and they had plantations. So yeah, and of course there was a lot of intermingling between the owners and slaves. Yeah, so they had slaves. But anyway, that's all. And so now you know, we all are all related. Anyway, I'm bringing the last group of books over here. So that was Patsy. Next up, I had to, of course, get Morningstar by Knausgaard. I was so happy to see this there. I'm going to read this. I mean, this is actually one I would like to read soonish if I can get to it. I love Knausgaard. All the stuff that I've listened to mainly, I've really enjoyed. So I got it. I had to pick up, this is the history stuff, an illustrated history of Ireland from the Oxford Illustrated History. It covers a lot of ground, a lot of centuries. And here too, I do have, I'm sort of keep bringing up my other hobby of ancestry, but you know what, that's who I am. And So at the same time that Jane Lane was saving the king, one of her brothers, William, I think, went to Ireland and was a Catholic person keeping the Cromwellians out of Ireland. I'm not exactly sure. I always get it confused. But since the whole family was Catholic, and I don't think he was a traitor to the family, so but this a bunch of Lanes go over to Ireland and settle there, mainly in Tipperary County. The Lanes of Tipperary County. There's something called Lanes Court or whatever. And so, you know, and also Ireland in general is super cool. I like illustrations, so I picked it up for probably $1. The same sort of thoughts were behind purchasing this book, a book called A Day in a Medieval City. I think it's translated from the Italian or French, maybe Italian, from the University of Chicago Press, and beautifully illustrated medieval pictures and all about life in a medieval city. And this is another dip-in book, you know. A grim tone of life, it says here. Another baleful spectacle was the public punishment of convicted criminals, exposed in the best cases to the derision and insults of the bystanders. They were frequently condemned to very harsh penalties. Yeah, life was tough back in the day. Oh gosh. Anyway, yes, but very interesting, and I love that it's illustrated with beautiful colored pictures. It's quite richly illustrated, so it's a very nice book. Down to the last two, another history book that I would like to actually get to fairly, you know, this is one I really am kind of interested in reading because I'm interested in the children of Henry VIII, you know, what happened to the next generation. And I have another book of hers on the shelf somewhere, but it was sort of slightly less interesting topic to me. It was earlier queens. Anyway, but this one looked good, and I thought, what the heck, I will pick this one up too. And then last but not least, another sort of one that I tried a little bit of. So it's definitely a sort of a lighter read. It's a Leticia Rod mystery. And I started reading it, and I wasn't sort of appalled at the style. And I thought, well, maybe this is good. Good enough for a comfort read. Let me know if you've read any Kate Saunders books or Leticia Rod mysteries. Yeah, that's my little book haul. Thank you all for watching. And at some point, the next thing you will get from me is a reading update, a little, you know, casual chatty one. I'm not sure when it will happen. I'm trying to finish one book, and I have a couple of others sort of slightly on the go. But I am also quite busy, mainly with, well, all the regular work of keeping up with the classes and all that stuff. But then the grading, when you're teaching as much as I'm teaching, there's quite a bit of grading, and we're going into the mid-semester. So the spring break will happen at the end of next week, and I will have a whole bunch of grading because two of my classes will hand in what sort of midterm papers, which aren't very long, but there's still going to be almost 60 of them to look at. And yeah, read and grade and comment on. I will say goodbye, and please leave comments on any of these books, and I'll see you soon. Thank you all for watching and subscribing. Have a good one. Bye.